the Savvy Safety Sisters Partner in Prevention podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Pasquarello of Global Secure Resources. And once again, we are here to bring a spotlight to keep you and your family safe and secure. And we know one of the best ways to make a difference in preventing victimization is to advocate and inform the public about strategies, tools, and techniques to stay safe. We first want to empower individuals with awareness and really highlight the importance of collaboration to end sexual violence, domestic abuse, stalking, and harassment. And second, provide education resources for survivors to be able to heal for their path forward. And what we will share today is how we can all make a difference to make this world a better place. So I'm thrilled to once again have Stephenie Rodriguez, CEO of Wandersafe, with us today. She is here to share about an amazing Be the Beacon campaign that aligns with the United Nations Day for the Eradication of Violence Against Women. Welcome, Stephenie. Let's start with a little bit about your background, then go right into the Beacon campaign, followed by the Wandersafe Accord, and then we're going to finish up with how our listeners can help and participate in this amazing day of change and activism. So hello, Stephenie. How are you?
Thank you. Oh, Carrie, I'm in Sydney and I'm 50 shades of amazing. And I'm so honored to get to share with you today about what we have going on and what we've started. I believe it was Kathy Mayer said that, you know, by way of being a light, we can illuminate for those who are in the dark. And that really resonates with me on so many levels. In 2019, I met a woman named Maria, and we had been talking with someone who saw our work with Wandersafe on the web and said we should attend the WSIS Forum, which is held by the United Nations, and it stands for the World Society of Information Societies. It's held at the ITU, which is a whole tongue twister, but we were invited to go there. And I shared probably about 5 or 6 different times between our panel that we had, podcasts, just, you know, talking this up. And I opened every single conversation with, my name is Stephenie Rodriguez, and I'm on a mission to impact 1 billion lives by 2025 and democratize safety in support of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And little did I know, in opening my mouth so many times, that the universe would create opportunities for me to be able to deliver on that mission statement that I just commanded, owned, had a measurable goal and a time. And later on, fast forward in 2019, I was invited to Nigeria to speak at a conference for global leaders and took with me our Wandersafe Beacon program. I was able to meet with 5 NGOs while I was there and some activators and look at our possibility of rolling out Wandersafe, which, for those who don't know, is a smartphone app that is free to download on iOS and Android. It's called Wandersafe, like getting lost, not wandering. And to talk about Wandersafe at this conference and meet up with these wonderful women working in the space of domestic and sexual violence survivors. And went to India, did exactly the same thing, gave exactly the same talk at the Australian High Commission. I got back and very shortly thereafter met you in Boston, and 4 days later wound up in a coma fighting for my life with cerebral malaria from a mosquito that bit me in Nigeria. And of course, I'm fortunate to have lived through that as a survivor and as an example of resilience and God's grace, no short. But it did take us 2 years to be in full medical recovery and in believing that I would come back to the mission that I set forward at the WSIS Forum and again throughout 2019. We knew that the UN Day for the Eradication of Violence Against Women was coming up, and it's a UN acknowledged day on the 25th of November. I understand in the United States it's Thanksgiving, and we're sorry we can't be home with our families for Thanksgiving in New York. But it is a day that the world stops and talks about this issue, and it allows the issue to come to light. So our product that we make and sell is called a Wandersafe Beacon. And we as a company are a B1G1 company, and B1G1 stands for Buy One, Give One. And you can go to b1g1.com and see all about that program. But as a social impact business, we have a commitment to putting our product in the hands of people that can't afford it but need it most. And those tend to be at-risk women who are at high risk or have been victims previously, or survivors, we like to refer to them, of domestic and sexual violence. And as we know with domestic violence, that's most often at the hands of a known person versus an unknown person. And unfortunately, the shadow pandemic has exacerbated, the pandemic COVID has exacerbated this problem of domestic and sexual violence, because where there were a lot of resources in the community for survivors, a lot of those community resources were reallocated to COVID because they were needed, just emergency response. So all the community programs just weren't there, but the problem just became bigger and bigger and bigger due to lockdowns. Now, I'm an Australian. We had some very long lockdown times here. We just came out of 3.5 months, but you look at places like Africa, where they already are living with super amounts of challenges. However, the lockdowns made it even worse for those victims who just simply had no assistance and no community resources. So, and thinking about what we could do to help and how we could ignite and bring those lights that I mentioned together, and the advent of the UN Day for the Eradication of Violence Against Women. I've had so many people following my story of recovery on social media say, what can I do to help? I love what you're doing with Wandersafe. How can I get involved? And, each one of us has the potential to be a beacon, be a light, be a resource for hope and change. Now, the UN Unite, which is the Director General's new mandate, says that we need to do things, and we need to continue to fundraise. We need to continue to assist. We need to continue to advocate, meaning making sure that these people get the legal representation that we need, and we need to collect data. So these 4 tasks that the UN Director General put in his mandate for this, and I am a member of UN Women. I work here in Australia in collaboration with a woman named Maria Calabi Sales. She's a beautiful Filipino woman who runs a social impact startup for women in STEM. So we went to the UN together, and of course, she's been with me on this journey. But collaboration is the 17th SDG, Carrie. And for me, of all those, clean water, innovation, smart cities, peace and justice, and access to education, collaboration is the biggest because it allows us to work together. So, and having folks that said they wanted to join my mission of 1 billion lives by 2025, and the advent of this day, I thought, well, why not empower others to become beacons of light and hope and be the beacon? And hence the hashtag Be the Beacon was born. Now, Be the Beacon is an online ambassadorship, and we are blessed to have more than 100 beacons, goodwill ambassadors, who are chiming in with this message, with this hashtag, with their story. We've created an ambassador toolkit that we can email to anyone, and it has in it things to tweet, share, post. It has access to UN resources that have already been made and scripted for someone who may not be a content creator or may not have found their own voice on how to articulate these challenges and what to do about them, and start these conversations, because there is so much around, even working with our young people. And I'm very pleased to say we have a youth ambassador program. We have 3 young men who are standing up and aligning with the he for she, and the he for she is another UN hashtag, but with men standing up and taking off the table that domestic and sexual and gender-based violence is a women's issue. And in fact, it's a human rights issue. And, taking that bias away from, it's not International Women's Day. Thursday is not, it's a human rights day. And in framing those conversations, young people look at things like consent and understanding what consent is, understanding what respect is, understanding that, what they learn and what they see on television, what they learn in popular music about the way they refer to women, starting these conversations about respect is what we're doing from the top down with what we're doing with people, and even into our youth through this Be the Beacon activation. So everyone from Keith Brewster, who's a couturier, an altier, I think I said those completely wrong, but he makes beautiful dresses in London, to Camilla Franks, who's an Australian fashion designer who her caftans have appeared on everyone from Oprah to Kate Hudson to Beyonce, to authors, TEDx speakers from Ghana, from South Africa, from Kenya, from Nigeria, to America, different parts of America. So there's no one whose audience is too big or too small. We want to celebrate and help them amplify the Be the Beacon message to start conversations that can be moved into policy, moved into change, and create that difference. So that is kind of Be the Beacon and the why of Be the Beacon, but it is about creating online conversations and disrupting online. The 25th, which is your Thanksgiving, is also the beginning of the UN's 16 Days of Activism. And what you will see online and actually in real life around the world are buildings being turned orange in color. I believe the Opera House did it. I think the Empire State Building, some of the world's monuments turned orange, hence the orange today. Their hashtag is Orange the World, and all of their artwork and things that you will see about this message will be in orange during the 16 Days of Activism. So we are attaching our campaign and our activism with a very big overarching message around disrupting for change for the eradication of gender-based violence.
Amazing. And I tell you, it's so important to give opportunities to participate and address gender-based violence. And as an advocate, I've heard the testimonies and the disclosures and the stories, and I've personally heard from those who have survived sexual exploitation and other harm. And this has truly been the driving force for me in my support work. And so I'm so happy to collaborate with you, Stephenie, in this mission. And I have to say, you know, survivor-led advocacy is so important, and we want to support the victims. We want people to have the tools to take control of their own healing and being able to also seek justice in ways that are meaningful for them. So this is truly an amazing mission, an amazing campaign. And having said that, I just want to also add that we really need to offer resources. And so I think one resource that is really great is PAVE. It's a great resource. It stands for Promoting Awareness, Victims Empowerment. And PAVE is a movement that creates a world free from sexual violence, and it builds communities and supports survivors. So you can reach them at their website, which is www.shatteringthesilence.org. And I just want to say, anybody listening to this, you are not alone. These communities are here to support you in your health and your healing. And in addition, we always like to give a 24/7 hotline for the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And that is 1-800-656-HOPE, HOPE. So I'll be sure to add these resources into the links below when we get this online. But in closing, I just want to say, wow, Stephenie, this was great information, a packed presentation for our listeners. I just want to know, do you have any last thoughts?
Sure. Well, the one thing, Carrie, that we did, which was the beginning of collaboration, we drafted a document called the Wandersafe Accord. And it's not a contract, it's a covenant, it's a treaty, and it, in its perfect form as it evolves, will be signed between people, sporting clubs like soccer clubs, schools, associations, and businesses, agreeing that they stand not only in policy, but in behavior for the eradication of gender-based violence, and that they will continue working for the Director General's mandates to advocate, to fund, to assist, and to collect data. And the first step of becoming a Wandersafe ambassador, a Goodwill ambassador online, is to go to www.thewandersafe Accord, register your interest by leaving your email, and then you'll get an email from us with what you need to do next. And you can virtually sign the Wandersafe Accord with us. But we're going to have a physical signing on Thursday at an event here in Sydney. It's a fundraiser for WARIF that stands for Women International. It escapes me the acronym. But yes, it's for WARIF, and it is an organization in Nigeria that I met that have advocacy, education, and healthcare services founded by Dr. Kemi Ibru de Silva. And I met her, she's a TEDx speaker, she's amazing. So anyone who wants to get involved, go to the Wandersafe Accord and register. That website will change between now and Thursday with the actual declaration present, and everyone who signs it Their names will go on that website and links to their socials if they would like them to be. And we will send them the ambassador kit, which will explain how they can take an action and get involved. It's absolutely free. It costs nothing. This is not a commercial venture for anybody. It's merely a means of working together, which is that 17th SDG for the goals. Some of the exciting things that are part of this that you'll be able to see and watch if you don't want to be an armchair advocate, but you do want to watch the campaign in action. The BeTheBeaconCampaign.com will be live on the 25th, and it'll showcase where content's being created that we can pull in via hashtags. So the most important thing about this hashtags is using Be the Beacon, because that's how we can showcase and highlight what that content is. And also the He for She movement, which is about men taking a stand. He for She is a campaign that the UN Women started, but men can take a pledge for standing up against the harassment that goes as a segue to gender-based violence and get involved from there.
That's fantastic. And that WARF is Women at Risk International Foundation. Just amazing, an amazing group. And I want to say, Stephenie, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today. We're grateful for this in-depth information and knowledge that you shared with us today. And we will be back for another episode to increase public awareness and reduce the dangers faced by citizens in their daily life, whether traveling around the corner or around the world. And don't forget to hit that follow button and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next time on our podcast, The Savvy Safety Sisters, Partners in Prevention. So thank you so much.